sacrifice to the gods below while I curse the one above. Got no use for a woman to get me to church on time. Already sinned and I'm a bottling, but you can bring your Lord tonight. Cause if the waves and if the winds desire me below, I'll take a breath and remember it, cause it's the last I'll ever know. It was me and my brother a long time ago. We were the beast of burden. Now the brotherhood of half asleep in the current, relaxed in the tide. She holds me like a mother until the end of time. It was me and my brother.
Broadcasting to you from the heart of northern Minnesota, and I would say from the heart of Vermont/New York. You are listening to the best music-oriented podcast and web series on all of YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Roger Radio Show. I am Roger Radio, as always, and I am here with a special guest today who is known simply as Kristian Montgomery. Kristian here is the frontman and musician, lead man for the band simply known as Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill band, who has released 4 albums so far, and including an EP. He has been doing this music for many, many years. He is basically in the Americana roots rock genre, so to speak, genre that I certainly can appreciate because I've played it a lot on my old radio shows, and we'll go from there. He is also he was a 2-time nominee for a Country Artist of the Year for the 2021 New England Music Awards and 2021 Boston Music Awards. Here is what his bio says on his website. I will include a link to everything in the description below. It says, Cajun-laced rock and roll soaked in an emotional bath of countrified guitars. Prolific in his pursuit of making more art, he's recorded 4 albums in 3 years. Nominations for awards aside, he written songs to connect himself to the world when it felt like it left him behind. You'll hear so much more than just music in his songs. And speaking of which, the song that you have just heard play in the intro while we were starting this is simply Brotherhood of Ghosts, a tribute song that he made for his brother Kurt, which we will get into very soon. It is the first single for their new album Soul Family, which is due to be released on June 21st on all streaming platforms, YouTube Music, Spotify, Bandcamp, etc. Kristian, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, so it says here that you're from Vermont, and it said that you have kind of moved a little bit to New York, at least on the border of that. Why the move? Why the decision to make a move like that?
We moved to Vermont 5 years ago. My wife and I have some pretty crazy exes, and we needed to get away. We moved to Vermont and we bought a farm. We were fishermen before that. We had a boat off the coast of New England, and we sold that, bought our house up here in Vermont. And then a couple of years after the purchase of that home, it burned to the ground.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. It happened really fast. Our neighbor woke us up, said your barn's on fire, and in a matter of 5 minutes, the whole house was gone. But long story short, I continued to create and write music and develop some songs, and we moved to the border of New York, right on the Vermont-New York border, and I've got a couple of different, artists who come in and join me, and so I've just been kind of doing my thing here, and
Okay.
yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, so obviously, like, music is pretty much your life, so to speak. But what would you say a typical day is like for Mr. Kristian Montgomery himself when there's no music going on? What do you just do?
Well, I wake up, I go out around 4:30 to start feeding my cows, and then the horses. Then I'll go collect some eggs from my chickens,
Okay.
and yeah, we're pretty much off the grid where we're at. We're 100% solar, and we got a little pond in the back for water for the creatures.
Okay.
Um,
So
and
typical
then
farm life. That's kind of pretty nice to say, do, especially when you're in the country and all that. So
yeah, we live on the side of a mountain, and we got it made. It's a pretty beautiful place. My wife and I wake up every morning and we're like, man, I can't believe we live here. Um,
right.
and the other thing too is the other half of my family is over in Copenhagen, Denmark. So usually like early mornings are my, for me, it's like mid-afternoon for them. So that's when, I get my phone calls and,
Yeah.
say my I miss yous. So
Yeah, I totally get that, man. I totally get that indeed.
mm,
All right, so if you could explain to everyone, what would you say your personality is like? Like, what are you mostly well known as, like, when it comes to, like, your inner circle of, like, friends and family? Like, are you outgoing? Are you quiet? What are you?
um, I was recently called the glue. I'm I've been the guy that everybody comes to for that rock solid. I'm going to tell you how it is, not sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
I've always been a black and white kind of person. There's no gray area. So yeah, I'm practical.
Oh, okay.
I am I set my goals and then I accomplish them. It's a tight schedule here at the farm, and so we have to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I also have time to take off my farm clothes and go to band practice and create music too. So it's walks a fine line. If my horses escape the paddock, then I have to drive an hour home to get back to find them. So I try to keep everything organized.
I got you. Like, I'm sure that farm life is like something, like the small township that I'm from originally. They take a lot of pride in their farming up there. Like, everywhere you go, you'll just see one farm, and if you don't see a normal house, then it's another farm, and it just goes on and on. So
now in Minnesota, there's a lot of Scandinavian imports. We've a lot of Danes and Swedes and Norwegians settled in Minnesota, and I can imagine that it's very organized and everybody's making very good, choices with where everything should be.
Oh yeah, we really are over here. Like, I'm of a Danish, Finnish, and Norwegian ancestry myself. So,
yeah.
And I'll get to a little bit of that in a bit. But I just before we get into that, I just figured, like, why don't you tell everybody who's watching about your childhood and your origins of when you were growing up? Give us a little backstory about you.
So, my father was a fisherman, and my mom was from New England. My dad was from Copenhagen, Denmark, and we, on my dad's side, it's all fishermen. My great grandfather's burial stone is in the center of Vidor Cemetery, the Kierkegaard there, and they. Still says Fiska,
Oh yeah,
it's kind of cool. So on my mom's side, though, we're like blue-blooded New England. My mom's family goes back to like the Salem witches and the women who were
Ooh.
hanged for witchcraft there. And,
Yep, I know all about that story pretty well.
yeah. Yeah. And on that side, we go back to pretty much like the founding fathers of the country. But I grew up living with my mother's parents. We lived at my grandmother and grandfather's house.
Okay.
And, we grew up, with a very farm living there. Except, I was forced to go to church with my grandparents. So my grandmother had this terrible voice. I mean, it sounded like a swine slaughterhouse. I mean, it just was terrible. It was the worst sounds you've ever heard. And people would stare at us in church. And I found really early on that the only way for me to avoid this embarrassment was to sing louder than her so no one could hear her.
Oh, okay.
And my reverend at the time was a tenor for the Boston Pops, and he had an amazing voice. And he heard me sing, and he pulled my grandmother aside and said, "Listen, I know you probably can't afford formal lessons for your grandson. We were of meager means." And so he took me in and started teaching me how to sing.
Okay.
And then he introduced me to Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. And, it's kind of odd for a reverend to say, "Hey, this is Black Sabbath. You need to check this out." But
especially when back in them days, a lot of them churches were always so biased towards that type of music.
yeah, yep. But he got me into all of it, and I joined from there. A buddy of mine said, "Hey, have you ever thought about singing in a rock band?" And so I joined a band called Crazy Frank, and we started doing our thing. And then from there, I joined a band with a 3-piece horn section called Laugh at the Monkey. And then we had Bone Dry System, which was my big rock band in Boston that took off. And from there, it was just kind of like, we were off and running, man. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That really is. And now getting back to your father, like, how did your father and your mother meet?
He was a fisherman off of Cape Cod at the time, and my mom was going to college, and they met on a jetty somewhere. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, and it was, it was the age of free love and all of that. So they went off and they made me.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because like my father was married 7 times. He was very handsome.
Holy shit.
Yeah. He did really well. He abandoned. I'm still like finding half siblings all over the world.
Wow.
But I have a half brother who lives in Alaska, and his mother was a Native Alaskan.
Yeah.
And he's my dad's second son. But my brother and I were actually in utero in different mothers at the same time. He was born, we were born, like my dad had to divorce his mom to marry mine. Well, she was pregnant with, so typical Viking, kind of guy.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Like, I have ancestry that's from Denmark, actually. It would be my great-great-grandparents would be my dad's mom's dad's parents,
Yep.
And actually, as a matter of fact, I got a very nice picture here to take a look at. This is my great-great-grandfather right here.
Oh, yeah.
Jens Hansen was his name, and then of course back in those days, Jens was apparently a common name or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I think by the look of it, it looks like he was working either on the railroads or in the mines or something like that. I could be wrong, but they settled in Vienna, South Dakota, which is where my great grandfather Charles was born. Then he moved here to Grand Rapids, which is where I live right now, and that's how he met my great grandma, who is originally from Evelyn, but she is of Finnish ancestry. Her parents came here from Finland.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And then
You're-
in addition to that, I actually, when I was going to school at Bemidji State University, which is like about 60 miles northwest of here, when I was working with the men's basketball team, we actually had a really good player who's from Horsens in Denmark.
Oh, cool.
Yep, and I still talk to him every once in a while. Like he's been off doing his own thing. Like he's a basketball coach and has like his own basketball academy and all that. So,
Good deal.
yep, it really is. So you pretty much kind of explained to us how your music career came to be, like with the church and all of that stuff. How many bands were you in total overall?
Oh, I've probably been in over 50 bands.
Wow.
You know, I've had quite a few. Just projects here and there that I jumped in on, or and from folk to jazz to heavy metal. I've kind of done it all. I've never stuck with I have a lot of friends who grew up metal who just do metal, and it's like that, it's cool. But there's so many other things to do, and honestly, I needed the money. I grew up pretty poor, so
Yeah.
I jumped in on anything I possibly could.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. Like you gotta do whatever to make ends meet, I guess. So, so who would you say would be like some of your biggest influences for music and all that? Like, who would you say is like your biggest inspirations and all that?
Gosh, there's so many of them, but Peter Gabriel's a huge influence of mine. I'm a huge fan of King's X and George Lynch, the guitar player from Dokken and Lynch Mob, and
Yeah, I do love me some Dokken.
Yeah, there's so many of them. I mean, from Paul Simon to Ozzy to there's just I've just been involved in so much different kinds of music that I couldn't just nail it down to one. But if I had to say, if I could have a career like somebody, it would be a career like Peter Gabriel.
Oh, without a doubt, and I don't listen to a whole lot of his solo music per se, but I have listened to a lot of his stuff when he was in Genesis.
Yeah.
And we actually did back right before New Year's, actually, we ended up doing an album review of one of their best works, which is The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And
yeah,
well, a lot of fun we have with them album reviews, I'll tell you that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, this was something that I wanted to ask, but I wasn't sure of, honestly. But then, of course, I was doing a lot of research, or at least try and find out what I could. And it said in some of these things that you did jail time or something like that. Or,
yeah.
Like, if you're okay with that, do you want to explain what happened?
Yeah. It's actually as tragic as the situation was. It kind of the ship's kind of it's still in the process of righting itself. I had an ex who was very angry that I left, and the way that divorce courts and that whole world works when a relationship doesn't work out, it's truly geared to the detriment of the kids. It's this terrible self-preserving, self-funded system where children of divorce end up, more often than, statistically are more prone to drug addiction, incarceration, premarital, pregnancies, all of the ills of the world fall upon these kids. So I wanted to stay in the picture. I wanted to be a dad, and I fought and spent an exorbitant amount of money to be in my kids' lives. My my ex-wife had used restraining orders as a tool, and she would send a message to my current wife, which, after I got remarried, that's when she got really upset. And if she didn't like the answer, I'd be served with a restraining order in the mail, and I'd say, I haven't talked to this woman in 5 years. I don't know what her problem is.
Yeah.
But one court started to figure it out. They realized what she was doing, and they would deny her. And so she went to a different court. And so it was a mistake I made, but at the same time, we found out not a crime. So I was served with an order. I reached out to my judge via Facebook to tell him what happened, and was immediately arrested. And they said that I was intimidating witnesses, and that I was this monster of a human. Even though my ex was asking me to take the kids. So long story short, I was presented with, I had just got out of the hospital. I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so, I was completely, out of sorts. And I took a plea, and they said, I'd have to go to jail for 6 months. And I said, fine. I just want to I got to find a way to get healthy so I can get away from this person.
Yeah.
And they threw me in county for 6 months, where it was absolutely terrifying. But at the same time, I came out of it a lot stronger. I wrote a record while I was in jail. Was approached by a teenage kid in there who told me he was going to kill me in my sleep. So I said, well, I guess we're going to have to do this while I'm awake, and proceeded to knock him out and get thrown in solitary. So yeah, it was a traumatic experience. As it turns out, walking away from it, this is 7 years ago. I was approached by a lawyer who said, that you pled out to something that's not even a crime. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And he goes, no, what you did wasn't so he started the ball rolling of getting everything, erased.
Yeah.
And I was lobbying for shared parenting time to put a target on the back of my head. Because that divorce industry is $1 billion industry. And, the judges are all in on it. The lawyers are all in on it. It's a pretty messed up system that it screws kids up, and we got to fix it. So but I
will say this, not only like as the court's been like how they are, the penal system is also something that is very life-changing. You could either go and you could come out of it stronger, or is this really the route that you want to take to keep screwing yourself over? Yeah, no, one of the scary things is when I was in there, I met some of the best guys I've ever met. Guys who were in the same position as me, who were just trying to be a dad and were being persecuted for it. Yeah. And then the majority are these poor drug addicts whom society basically failed in their youth, and whom a lot of them went through the exact same divorce system with their parents. Yeah. And were failed by the village that was supposed to collectively be taking care of them. Yeah. And then being punished for it, for the failures of their local government and for the failures of, the court systems. And they were just in there, and it was a revolving door. They would get out, they would reoffend by using drugs, and they're using drugs because they were broken by society. And society has basically turned their back on them and said, hey, listen, we know it was our fault, but this is your problem now. So yeah, it's a mess. It's a total mess. Yeah. I mean, I can't even think about it. Like, I'm actually the only one in my family who does not have a record of any kind, but I would hate to think what it would be like on the inside. And there's even two guys that I know from my hometown of Hill City, which is about 20 miles south of where I'm at right now currently. There are two guys who I knew from back there, and they are serving at least they're currently serving between 30 to 40 years for murder.
Yeah.
And I know where they're at. They're at the maximum prison in Rush City, which is like our newest one that was built. So
And when I was in county, because I was a diabetic, and let me tell you, the medical treatment there is terrible, and especially for people with diabetes, they really don't know what they're doing there, and one of the gentlemen who would go to the medical office down there would ask me to pass notes to his co-defendant, who was also going to trial for murder. They had burned a woman alive by the train tracks in Bridgewater, Massachusetts, and I wrote a song on the gravel church called "The Tracks," and these two guys were, they were passing notes back and forth to each other about the trial, about what they were doing.
yeah,
and they were eventually convicted of murder. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, here I am, this guy who I just wanted to be a dad to my sons and my daughter. And I'm shoulder to shoulder with this guy who just murdered this chick. I'm like, this system is so messed up. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, you pretty much, it's just like you bring in everyone that's, whether you did whatever crimes that you had, which are like at different levels, like whether you're sitting next to a murderer, a rapist, a drug dealer, it's still terrifying to say the least,
Yeah.
And pretty much, so you have joint custody of your kids now, correct?
No. I actually, my oldest boys are in the Air Force and the Navy now. I have two older daughters from a different relationship that I've always had relationships with. But because of what happened, I had to just go. I had to go away. I had to leave. It was a situation where, my wife and I sat down and we were like, okay, we're either going to have these constant barrage of false allegations of, every time my opponent wouldn't get her way, it was an immediate trip to county. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I had to leave. She's made several attempts at doing it again, which, everything got dismissed. But it's a complete, I hear from people in the community that the slander continues, and I needed a fresh start away from that.
Yeah.
But since then, I mean, since our move, since getting away, the world has just been this amazing place. I've been releasing, this is my 6th album in 5 years, and music awards, been featured all over the country, all over the world. May 20th, I'm going back to Europe. It's just, life has been great. My wife and I have made this amazing life, and we're hoping that the kids will eventually find us here.
Yeah.
Happy and healthy.
Without a doubt, even after all that, just like, holy shit, man. And I thought that my older sister's breakups were that dramatic. To say the least.
My kids have all reached out under the radar. It's they know that Dad's always wanted to be there, and Dad's the good guy in the situation. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah. It is. It really is amazing. No, I mean, you gotta also be proud of them too, serving in the Air Force and the Navy. Like my
Yeah,
nephew, my nephew kind of like has some ambitions to do that himself, and I pretty much said to him like, if you want to consider going into the military, join either the Air Force or the Navy. They'll at least teach you something, and they'll do a lot more
yeah,
training with you. My
yeah,
dad served in the Navy for 5 years. I actually have his dog tags and his picture right above here. And then I actually
yeah.
have his old Navy Pico, which is in my closet right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It actually still even has a couple mud stains on it from when he got off the plane.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll now get into your music right here. During your time in county jail and whatnot, that's when you said you created your first album, which is The Gravel Church. And I want to read a little bit of this right here. This here is on the website, on Kristian's website, which will be in the description below. It says, the Gravel Church was a 25 by 25 fenced in by barbed wire piece of dirt that he was allowed to walk around while in prison for trying to be a father in the Commonwealth. He did time in solitary for fighting with a man half his age and was eventually released to his family after 6 months of living hell. This is where the album was born. He then followed his dream to Ultrasound Productions and presented his music to producer Joe Clapp. He and Mr. Clapp got to work on what started as a 5-song EP, but it turned into a 16-song album of reflection, understanding, and healing. It's everything country and rock and roll is supposed to be. This album, it will be a nice place to stay a while, and it even melded elements of Americana roots music like rockabilly, country, folk, and a little touch of classic rock. And I will say, like, I really, really appreciate it because the radio station I volunteered at, this was the type of music we played.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Joe and I had known each other for many years, and had many mutual friends. Other talented musicians who all jumped in on that record, and it was just really cool because guys from past bands and from other well-known established acts in Boston all performed on it, and it was just great. It was great to know that I at least made an impression on people enough where they were considered themselves friends and wanted to contribute on it. So it was a cool record.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Like, I've listened to it. Like, I was only able to get like a few songs in, but what you had was really, really good. Like, I really genuinely enjoyed listening to the songs that I've listened to. Especially
Thanks.
with the song That Bird Won't Fly. And here's what Buzz Music said. The links to all of the links that Kristian sent me will be in the description below. I encourage you all to check it out yourself as well. Here's what it says. That Bird Won't Fly provides descriptive lyrical content that tells a story of the enchanting flight of two lovers weaving in and out of each other's life. The chorus features a clapback sound that paints the picture of a bird flapping its wings at takeoff, launching into the unknown lyrics like something about the way she moves the moment you walk into the room, something about the way she turns your head, hooks us into the whirlwind romance of these two birds in flight. You gotta admit, that's a pretty good way to describe the song here.
So the actual meaning of that song, That Bird Won't Fly, when I was in county, my wife, who was just as taken aback by all this shit that happened.
Yeah.
One minute we're sitting in our living room, the next minute I'm in jail, and it was pretty traumatic for her. But so she visited. Like, you're allowed to visit prisoners every twice a week, and she was living. I don't know. We had a home, 50 miles away, and every time that she was allowed to see me, she would come in and see me. She talked to like the guy who ran the prison, and he even pulled her aside and said, this guy doesn't belong here. What did he do? And when she explained, he was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And they threw him in jail for that. So that bird won't fly was more of a metaphor for my wife sticking with me. I mean, some other women might have said, you know what, this is a little bit too much drama for me, and this woman's just never going to leave you alone. I don't want to live the rest of my life like that. But she stuck with me the whole way. And the cool thing about my wife and I is she's actually the first girl I ever kissed. She was baiting lobster pots, and I thought that was hot. And her dad was a captain, and so was mine. And it was funny, I got her to kiss me behind a library when we were, young.
Oh, yeah.
And my aunt broke it up, and we never saw each other again. And then we ran into each other. I was like, I'm getting divorced, and she was getting divorced. And it just, our families knew each other, and it was just such a perfect melting of, two families. And, but she never gave up on me, man. And that's that bird won't fly.
Yeah, I will say this, like, I really, really appreciate what you said, because, like, that's what saddens me about the landscape of, like, relationships and marriages these days is, like, there's, like, even marriages that I've seen that lasted for, I think, at least maybe 30 to 40 years that did end in divorce. So I was like, well, so much for the quote, do you take whoever to be your wife or husband till sickness and in health till death do you part? So much for that these days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just, you have to find your person. That first time that you say, hey, I want to do this, and they say, no, you need to put my happiness before your own, is the day it's done.
Yeah.
So it's cool. My wife and I, she loves horses, and she always wanted a barn full of horses. And we made it happen together. And she knows that music is my passion, and she supports me 100% in it. And we just love doing the same stuff. We take off to travel to Europe, or we'll go, jump on a flight to Florida to go visit friends, or, we've always clicked in that way where it's like, what better place to be than with her?
No, right, exactly. And oh shit, I just lost my train of thought right now. But yeah, it's really nice to have that. And you know what? Even considering, like, I've listened to a lot of your music, and it almost does sound like the typical music that you would listen to when you're on a farm and whatnot. So it's kind of a nice homey-like touch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so the Gravel Church comes out. Now, a lot of positive responses to it, man. What would you say about this album? Like, would you say it was kind of like a awakening of sorts for you as a person?
Well, it was a returning to who I am. It was I had been void of creating anything, and been so trapped in the 9-to-5 grind of just that misery of work, and then there was just no outlet for me to create anything. I had previously tried to start a TV pilot that I was trying to sell about ancestry and traveling the world, and I involved my kids with me, and I had played at a couple of pretty big venues, and my family came to those shows.
Yeah.
But like I've been so accustomed my whole life to just constantly having a project. And my wife said to me, listen, you're getting back into music. I recorded the Gravel Church, and I thought, okay, that was really nice. And then the critics and the radio stations and my fans from previous bands said, you have to keep going. So I did. And I wrote Prince of Poverty. And that was the record that got me nominated for the Boston Music Awards and New England Music Awards.
Yeah.
And that album was more geared towards working class Americans who were tired of being tired, which is one of the songs on the album, and who were sick of working for chump change. I'd heard about that dude who just lit the toilet paper factory on fire. I want to say it was in Illinois, maybe.
I think I heard something about that too.
Yeah, he made a video of it, and he's lighting all the toilet paper on fire, and it turned out to be like this. The fire itself was huge, like the entire business is gone. And all he was saying was, all you had to do was pay us a living wage. All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
Yeah.
And that is America. It's the them, and then there's us. So
yep, I know what you mean. I was gonna say, when they saw the fire happening, did any of them at least exclaimed "Holy shit"?
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of all the things in the world, you had to do toilet paper. It was already bad enough that during the pandemic, no one could even buy toilet paper because it was all gone. And now this jackass here sets it on fire. I mean, I could understand why, because like, hey, we need more pay. We deserve a better living, you know, but there's like a certain way to do things, you know? I mean,
well, it's such an unnatural part of the world, and especially coming from a Scandinavian background. You know, I'm 6'2", I'm 225, 30 pounds. And when you have a conversation with a CEO or a corporate America, typical leader, they're usually about a foot shorter than me and about 100 pounds less than me. And I say to myself, this is my boss. Like, this in the natural world, this doesn't work. Like, in the natural world, I've already got this guy in a headlock and telling him I'm taking everything from his village. And and by the way, I'll probably take all of your women with me on my way back to Denmark. And so it's a scary thing. That guy who shot the insurance CEO. I mean, in my personal opinion, I mean, there's definitely a self-defense claim there because those guys are trying to kill us on a regular basis, denying people health care, denying us services. And that's what Prince of Poverty was about. It was about those people who,
Yeah, I know that this was just breaking on the news here in Minnesota, but there was a guy who's originally from Kenya who's been living in Minnesota for many years, and he is among those that were indicted on an $11 million Medicaid fraud scam, and he fled the country. They're looking for him right now because they decided to let him post $150,000 bail without conditions, and they let him keep his passport. So that is kind of a fuck up on the court system's part. Like, he could be a flight risk. Maybe we should take his passport away until we get to the bottom of this. But the judge is like, nope, he can keep it.
Yeah, he probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean, $11 million. I mean, hey, maybe you can fork a little bit of that over or something like that, you know? It's insane. Like, it's even then, like on my other friend's YouTube channel, that I'll quickly say, we did a review about the Shawshank Redemption because he wanted to do a movie review of that. And there was like a moment there where you could be incarcerated, and when you're in prison as long as you have, you're like, it does something psychological to you where you're like, I don't want to go back out into the real world and all that. And then there was that one famous scene that I saw of the guy taking his own life, and it said, I can't remember what the quote was, but Brooks was here and all that. And That's what infuriates me about the penal system at times, because my older sister was incarcerated, you
Hmm.
know.
Well, the stress that I think the system is built on is once you get out of prison and you're on probation, you have this overwhelming anxiety of, well, they could put me back there. Like
Yeah.
and it's not, if you're not at the right place at the right time, you're going to be thrown back in. I don't drink, I don't smoke or anything. I live pretty clean. But
Yeah. Way better than
um,
I do.
yeah, I mean these guys who are on drugs, it's like
Yeah.
they throw them out and they say, you've got to do a urine test once a month or random drug screening. And these are guys who haven't been given the tools to get off the drugs. They haven't been given the proper, detoxing. And you're just thrown to the wolves. And I never understood it. It's like
Yeah.
somebody's got to be making a buck off of it. And then you find out that these guys get, it's $90 a day per prisoner that the state pays, and the federal government gets in on it too. And they're basically, it's a self-perpetuating system, and they need more employees because they're a union, and the union lobbies the government to make more laws to throw more people in prison so they can hire more corrections officers so they can grow their union.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It is. I will say this, like, the only thing that I've been guilty of doing, like, for anything, is just smoking marijuana, and that's it. And my dad, when he was alive, he was a guy who was calling for its legalization, and
Yep.
it got legalized here in Minnesota. Sadly, he's been gone for about it'll be 11 years come July 25th. But the day that it got legal, I guarantee you my dad would have went out onto his porch and wait for a cop car to come by and just be like, "Hey guys,
Yep.
yeah, cheers," and all that. The only reason it got legalized was because there was a Republican senator Republican senator who actually mistaked it for another bill that he was going to vote yes on, and he voted yes on that legalization. So big shout out to him. So
Yeah, great job. He was probably high as a kite.
probably, yeah, probably was. Like, and even then, like, drugs, like, obviously, like, it can fuck up everyone's lives too. Like, I never have done meth myself, but I've seen what it does to people. And on my older sister, she sadly was a victim of it. She's been clean for a few years now, and she is doing way better than she was before she did her stint in prison. Isn't
Mhm.
And of course, it's the only women's prison we have here in Minnesota, which is Shakopee. But that was her time in there is what was able to strain her out. So I guess it's kind of like how you react to it and all that, So, all right. So, yeah, now to continue on, we're going to talk about your second album, Prince of Poverty. And let me tell you, I do have a couple. I do have two notable songs that I really want to get into.
Right.
But here's what it says on your website. In this, the age of the outsider, Kristian Montgomery might be starting to fit in, but don't tell him that. Oops. Montgomery grew up poor, prefers to catch his own meals on the waters off Cape Cod, and has always felt his music defies genre. A lack of belonging colors his worldview, and he wouldn't have it any other way. The battle between searching for common ground and accepting his otherness informs much of his songwriting. On his second pandemic release, Prince of Poverty, Montgomery and his Winterkill band pursue an edgier sound than on last year's The Gravel Church, which was largely penned out while he was serving his prison sentence. From the Replacements' reminiscent barroom swagger of Don't Call Me Baby to the clanging anthem They'll Remember My Name and the jangly hooks through That Kind of Love, the band oozes no nonsense, authentic blue collar spirit that's keenly balanced with clever songwriting. The brooding defiance in Soul for a Soul puts focus on Montgomery's grunge crooner vocals, while the banjo propelled the gallop of both Working Hands and American Fire shows off the band's rootsy foundation. Uninspired by the recent turns in the world of mainstream country, Montgomery and co. take their Americana into a space that's simultaneously restless, rugged, and ragged, while still plenty infectious. It's impressive. It's an impressive tightrope act, and yeah, it was pretty impressive to say the least. Now, the Replacements' reminiscent swagger of Don't Call Me Baby, I can really understand that because the Replacements are from here in Minnesota, and they even played at the pristine First Avenue, which is like our, like when you go to like some of these big festivals and all that. So,
Yeah.
what I really loved about this album was the starting song, They'll Remember My Name.
Yeah.
I have no idea if this was intentional or whatnot, but it almost reminded me of Led Zeppelin's song When the Levee Breaks.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely had a Levee Breaks kind of vibe to it. My buddy Jeff Armstrong from the Delta Generators played drums on that one. And,
okay.
Yeah, that song, They'll Remember My Name, that was kind of a warning to corporate America. It's kind of now like a foreboding, now that the almost prophetic kind of basis for that song is coming true. It was I don't have a place to rest, a pot to piss, but they expect the rent. It's all about what was the line? I found the high ground, and my crosshairs are burned into his brow. That's that warning to corporate America that, hey, every country that has had a upper class that forgot about the lower class ends up on the guillotine, ends up losing their heads. I think a revolution is it's almost like on a schedule, and I think America has definitely hit it, where we've got CEOs being shot, we've got buildings being burned down because people are, you're sending us, to work for slave wages. There should be in the richest country in the world, there should be a basic living wage. There should be a level of which no one ever drops below. And that's what Prince of Poverty was about. It was about the fact that we need to bring that level up and bring those guys down a little bit. The Elon Musks of the world, who, and Donald Trumps of the world, who inherited their money, and then gave it to somebody else and said, go double this for me. It's guys who really have never worked. Like, they've never actually picked up a tool. And it drives me up a wall to see some of these guys who are like, if you ask Donald Trump what is a miter saw, I guarantee you he wouldn't fucking know. Same with the some of these other bigwigs who just they're just old money. They've never worked.
Yeah, Elon Musk, I guarantee you, probably never picked up a hammer in his life, even.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what Prince of Poverty was about. It was about it was just a call to hey, it's time for a change. Our revolution seems to kind of be past due.
Yeah, so, without doubt. I'll say this quickly for They'll Remember My Name. I really did love this song, and this is a definite song that you feel like you're listening to when you're doing years of hard time and labor and all that while you're inside the can. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Oh, I might not, economically be able to compete, but these are guys. There's been a lot of these guys lately who are attempting to kill people, or they're high profile political figures
Yeah.
who have said, you know what, they'll remember my name. They're gonna know what I did.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But you brought up "Don't Call Me Baby," and "Don't Call Me Baby" was a song that it was a funny story. I had this dream that I was in Las Vegas with Alanis Morissette, and she made me dig she made me dig my own grave out in the desert, and then shot me. And every time she shot me, she'd say, "Don't worry, baby. Don't worry, baby." And it was like this kind of almost like Quentin Tarantino Pulp Fiction dream. And and I wrote a song about it. And I sent it to Alanis's manager, and I, with a message saying, "Hey, this is what this song was about. Could I get her opinion on it?" And she never wrote back.
Yeah,
So,
of
hey,
course
whatever.
she ain't gonna respond back, But
she doesn't want these.
but I guarantee you, though, it is actually probably one of the best stories for like any song ever. Like, we ended up doing an album review of Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, and there was a song that we talked about, which is Don't Look Back in Anger, and my co-host, who was helping me on that, said that he read something and according to Noel Gallagher, he actually does not remember writing the lyrics because he was really high as hell. Like,
That's fun.
isn't it just amazing? Like, even then with stuff like this, you could at least had something that's kind of humorous with like a humorous backstory of like, this is why I wrote this song, Alanis Morissette making you dig your own grave.
Yeah, it was quite comical. All right.
Yeah, it's probably. I was like, were you by any chance listening to one of her songs from Jagged Little Pill before you went to bed and thought of that dream? Because it almost is like maybe you were one of those other lovers or something like that. That
Right.
is like from You Ought to Know, So
Yep. It was explaining it to my producer at the time. He's like, "What are you talking?" I'm like, "This is it. That's all it was. It was this stupid dream." And she kept calling me baby as she was shooting me. And I'm like, and he was like, "All right, yeah, I was sure we were all promised flashbacks. Yeah, sure." But that was pretty good.
Right. Oh, your webcam's gone.
What? Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're having technical issues right now.
Hold on. Here we go.
Yep.
Hey, I'm back.
All right, he's back. We could still hear you, though, but we'll keep that in. That was a pretty good clip right there that I'll use for the promo trailer. Right. Okay, so now you bring up like everything that you have said about Prince of Poverty. We still have yet to get to probably the greatest fuck you of a song I ever heard, American Fire.
Yeah. So, American Fire I wrote, and I can't remember her name. I sent it to Mitch McConnell's opponent. Because I mentioned Mitch in the song. He's the Kentucky senator.
Yeah.
AKA the Turtle.
AKA the guy who keeps freezing at his press conferences. I know that guy right there.
Yeah, the guy that should just retire. He anyway, they used a clip of it. It was I had the unfortunate experience of meeting Trump outside the Howard Stern show in the early 90s, and I didn't particularly care for him. He was a misogynistic prick, and if I had taken a swing at him when he insulted the girl that I was with, I could have saved the whole world. There's no way you win the presidency if you have a video of getting knocked out.
Right.
So I wrote American Fire about, the current political, situation we have here in the States. It just seems that everything is so greed driven, and it's gotten to the point where the wealthy have been able to manipulate the middle class and poor to think that, hey, we get to keep our stuff because someday maybe you could have it too. And it's like this big grift that we're all buying into. So I'm also a big Bruce Springsteen fan. And
he released Streets of Minneapolis.
Yeah, he's a inspirational character for me.
They call him the boss for a reason, after all. So
yeah, I mean, and he's another guy whose career took off later in life. He was just a consummate songwriter, working his trade, and then he just suddenly had this like epiphany of like a handful of great tunes, and then he's just continuing to write more.
Yep.
But I mean, that "Lost in the USA" reference to "Born in the USA" seemed to resonate with folks, and immediately got a couple of thousand hits on the first release of it, and right off the bat, and I was like, oh, okay, this is really, really cool.
Right.
And then I did a radio edit of it to take all the swears out, because there was quite a few. But yeah, it's a great tune. It's a great fuck you to all of the powers that be.
Exactly. There was like a while back, it was right after we did our podcast episode talking about the Grammy Awards that happened, and obviously there was a lot of obviously the topic was obviously like all the turmoil that's going on. Then right afterwards we did a podcast talking about some of the most notable protest songs in history. And I'll say this though, in where I'm at, we're mostly like a GOP, like every territory and all that. Right after I released that podcast, I got buried for that, for what I've said, but I could honestly care less. Yeah. And of course, I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. I'm a huge System of a Down fan. It almost feels like American Fire kind of was a little bit influenced by these bands. Do you think there was any influence from them for this song?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge Rage fan. I've seen him live so many times. Yeah, I mean, it was, when it comes to songwriting and politics, it could, Rage Against the Machine made a career out of it. Everything was, that was what them for, was for these protest songs. So for a singer-songwriter though, it can also be the kiss of death. I wrote that song full well knowing that half of America will like it, half will hate it.
Yeah.
That's just where we're at right now. I've had people, who said, your first line is "the president's a fucking liar." I've had my Republicans friends say, "Oh, that was about Biden, right?" And I'm like, sure. And then, my Democrat friends are like, "Oh, that's definitely about Trump." And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny.
It's really, I really liked that song, because that was exactly what we needed and shit like that. I mean, even then, looking at this album here, Prince of Poverty, the overall themes of it, dude, it almost reminded me of have you ever listened to Pink Floyd's album Animals?
Oh yeah.
No, they in that album, they based it off of a book called Animal Farm, which is from George Orwell from 1945, and Roger Waters categorized society into three different types of animals: the pigs, the dogs, and the sheep. We start with the sheep, who are the common folk and the followers who will do whatever the powerful will tell us. The second one is the dogs, which are basically the enforcers and the industrious, business-minded overachievers. And then finally, we have the pigs, who are the politicians and billionaires and benefactors who support them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've read that book several times. It's scary how quickly I think about today's politics when I think of that book.
Yeah. If you have ever listened, have you ever listened to a Radiohead's album OK Computer?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, that album, I will guarantee you, literally flat out predicted what is happening now. We just did not know it at the time, and it's been almost 30 years since it came out. And there was even one notable song that I remember fondly, which is Electioneering, and I was like, who do you think was able to get elected?
Yeah, I know.
Trust I can rely on your vote.
Yep. No, I hear you.
Yep. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a quick short break to get our bearings and whatnot. Don't go anywhere. This is our interview with Kristian Montgomery. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, after a long, stressful day, sometimes it's just good, relax, and just enjoy the weekend while you can. In this case, for me, music-wise, honestly, I have to enjoy my weekend by just sitting back and having me some Post Malone Oreo cookies right here. Now, this here I've never tried before, but because I'm musically inclined, I have to try these. Holy fuck, that actually looks good. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. It looks like a reverse Oreo cookie, but it's almost like it went halfway and they still didn't go back ever. Might as well give this a try. That looks incredible. Well, cheers. Are you an independent musician or band that's looking to be interviewed and to promote your music? If so, contact me via social media or email today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Roger Radio Show. I am here with Kristian Montgomery, the lead singer of the appropriately named Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill Band. One question I have for you is, the Winterkill Band, was that supposed to be inspired by the Winter Hill Gang of Boston?
No. It's actually, I was hunting with a friend of mine who is Wampanoag Indian in New England, and we were trekking through like 2 feet of snow. I'd never like gone on a push hunt during a snowstorm, and we found maybe a dozen dead yearling deer. It was a really rough winter, and he goes, "Man, this is the worst winter kill that I've ever seen." And one of the things about really heavy snow is the coyotes can run on top. The deer have a really hard time traversing the snow, and it makes them a little easier prey.
Yeah.
And being an avid a hunter of deer, I was like, man, that's a cool name. And then I was like, the Winterkill Band. Yeah, that kind of works. And he looked at me, he was like, yeah, Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill Band. I'm like, it's like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, except it sounds more badass.
Right. So, right. And you guys were just like, that's a cool name, all while you have all these dead ass deer right here.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you wanted to, the official logo could have been like a deer's head or whatnot, like how them bucks are with the antlers and the racks and all that. Yeah, that could have made for a clever logo right there. So,
yeah.
Alrighty. So we are going to get back into this quickly. We now reach your next album, A Heaven of Heretics. Now, this here is what Rocket Knight says about the album. It says, Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill Band are a force to be reckoned with. This is their third album, and the quality of these songs are stellar in every way. Kristian is growing as an artist with his musicianship, lyrics, and the nice blend of genres that is appealing to music lovers everywhere. More people need to discover his artistry. Bravo. And I will tell you this, more people really need to discover your stuff. Like, I really, really liked what you're doing here.
Cool. Yeah, so a heaven for heretics. It goes back to my roots in the church, and it was inspired by people being different. And I understand in America we have this thing where we have to sell everything. You know, we had the Black Lives Matter protest, and it seems as though capitalism got its teeth into it and turned it into something it was originally not supposed to be, which was supposed to be a, hey, listen, we've come so far as, you know, culture, accepting everybody, and it seems like we're losing that. And I understand what the movement came from, but then it was like, you don't have to buy the T-shirt. You can protest. You can have the purpose of that protest in your heart. You don't have to buy the bracelet and the koozie and all the other shit that goes with it, because that's where we lose it here in the States.
Yeah.
So from that, and then the movement with the LTGB community, I looked deep inside my heart after my oldest daughter came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm getting married." And I said, "Okay." And then she went, "To a woman." And I went, "Okay, cool." And then after meeting my daughter, my daughter-in-law, who made me laugh harder than anybody has in my entire life. She should be the most famous comedian ever. I thought to myself, like, why has this ever been a big deal? And I thought about it, and I'm like, if we were all just allowed to be ourselves, without any judgment, without, you know, if you're not hurting anybody else, I've never understood why we don't have a law that says if you're not hurting anybody else, you can just be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I have a really good radio DJ friend who is one of the most badass people I've ever met. She is a helicopter pilot for a local news station, and also a owner of a radio station in Boston, and also used to be a dude. You know, had been the singer of a band that I used to go see when I was a kid, and just has always been a local personality, and one of the kindest, coolest, nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And that album was inspired by the bravery it takes for some of these people to say, you know what, I've always felt this way, but now I'm going to finally be who I think I was supposed to be. And my hat is off to those people. Like, I never experienced that, and it's weird. I've always known I'm a guy. I've always known that this is who I am. I've been Chris. My grandmother would tell you I haven't changed since I was 12.
Yeah.
I've pretty much been the same person. But there are people out there who struggle, you know, with an identity of, hey, this is who I feel like I am, but this is the way I was, you know, born. So it was my message to the world of, hey, just let everybody be. Like, I don't have any problem with the guy who lives next door, who owns more guns than anybody I've met in my life. May not be the most mentally healthy person in the world, but I'm not going to go to his house and say, you can't have those guns, because every once in a while I see you talking to yourself.
Yeah.
The same with the other people. Just live and let live. You know, there's just no reason for the hatred and this, like, push for conformity. I've always been, rock and roll is all about non-conformity, where we're not going to be who you tell us we're supposed to be. We're going to be ourselves.
Absolutely.
That was the message. that was the message of that record. It was rock and roll. We're not going to do what you tell us to do. We are going to be who we want to be, and we're going to support people who are different, because being different is cool. It's good. It's God forbid we live in that George Orwell world of conformity and everybody has to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Drives me up the wall.
Without a doubt, like I really, really appreciate everything you have said for this album, like without a doubt. So, growing up in Hill City, I did not know anyone who was openly gay and whatnot. When I went to my second college in Virginia, I was classmates with someone who's openly gay. Hey, and that was kind of like a somewhat like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like as much of a life-changing experience, but it was kind of like an experience that's like he's just like me in a way.
Yep.
Well, but
Yep.
somewhat different. But hey, if you want, if it's a you do you kind of, like
Yep.
I'm always one of those hey you do you kind of people. Like if you want to marry someone else who's a guy, go for it. If you want to have a sex change operation, go for it. If you want to be with somebody who's like a different race, go for it. Like I've always been for that. And even then, getting back to the stuff you said about like the LGBTQ and Black Lives Matter thing, I always find it like so ironic, like that people always have to try and make it stuff as like a political issue. But my honest opinion is when it comes to that stuff, it's not a political issue. It's a human rights issue for me.
Well, as human beings, we are all searching for community. We are doomed individually. It's been proven time and time again. People who are stranded on a desert island go mad without another human around.
Yeah.
That's the kind of animal we are. We need community. And the right-wing community, the LGBT community, they both have the same purpose. They want someone else to be together with. And if we could eventually at some point become one giant community, it would be the best case scenario for everybody.
Yeah. And we wouldn't be dealing with all the division that's going on today.
Yeah, and that Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill band is all about tribing up. We want to grow our tribe. We want people, to find us. Just today, the local radio station in Vermont sent me a message saying, "Hey, we played you." I released a single to them and said, "Hey, throw it out there if you want to." And they did, and immediately somebody called in and said, "Hey, who is this band?" So we got one more member of our tribe today. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome.
It's that's what Heaven for Heretics was about. It was a heaven for heretics. It was non-believers, whoever you want to be. I'm a Dane. I grew up in the Christian church, but I'm very tied to my old gods from the old country. You can believe what you want to believe, but it's Heaven for Heretics was a place for everybody who was different to be able to come and hang out for a little while and feel like they were part of something.
Yeah, exactly, without a doubt. All right, so there's like some two songs that I do want to like mention here and all that. There was times like these that I've listened to. It's very, very 50-ish. I really did like that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait, did I travel back in time to the 50s or something? And for the song Family Owned, I did like the sound that was like at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember. I can't remember what was it that you did.
On the guitar?
Yeah.
I played through a Les Paul with an old pig nose amp head. But with Family Owned is it's a song dedicated to an old radio personality called Wolfman Jack. I don't know if you'd ever heard of him. He was a pretty
Wolfman
famous.
Jack. Yep, I have.
Yep. And he had that really deep voice, and he was just cool. his wife loved him so much she buried him in the front yard. The dude was he was a really cool radio personality, and that song was my kind of homage to him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
as like a tribute thing, like sometimes you gotta, sometimes it's nice to pay your respects, through song and all that.
Yeah.
And then there's like the song that I also listen to, If I Live to See Virginia. Like, if you wanted to see Virginia, all you just gotta do is just take a flight down there, and that's no problem.
No, that was after after I got divorced. I drove down south, and it was a song, If I Lived to See Virginia. It was about whether I was going to make it all the way to my destination.
Yeah.
Driving from Boston to Florida can, especially when you have somebody like I did who was out to kill me. That was pretty much what the song was based upon, was an ex who was hot on my trails, and I was trying to escape.
Yeah. Yeah, I could certainly understand that, Oh. All right, so basically, right prior to that, right before this album was released, you ended up getting your nominations for Country Artist of the Year at the New England Music Awards and Boston Music Awards. What did getting those nominations mean to you?
Nothing. Yeah, it was. I kind of think it was. I was one of those artists who I have since been blacklisted from the New England and Boston Music Awards. I wrote to them and expressed my feeling that there were not enough blue collar artists represented.
Yeah.
Years prior, a lot of rap artists had reached out and said, "Hey, listen, we feel left out. There's not enough, people of color represented at the music awards." So what I did was really no different than what they did, except I was not a member of a large community of people, and I was subsequently shunned when I said, "Hey, this is just all freaking spoiled college kids who come to Boston for a year, play at Berklee School of Music, and then get all these accolades that really they're not very talented, and most of them are just, you never hear of them again." I had suspicions that they were paying for their nominations, so I spoke out about it. Haven't been heard from since there. So there might have been some truth to what I was saying, and because I've continued to just put out, I think, kick-ass record after kick-ass record, and I continue to play for sold-out clubs and expand. My fan base has been ever expanding. So
yeah,
it's nice to be recognized by your peers when they are your peers. I recently, last year, I won favorite Americana artist at the Listen Up Music Awards in upstate New York. And I walked into that awards ceremony or the event, and everybody looked like me. You could see the dirt under their fingernails. You could see that they just got home from work. They might not have been able to shave because, they're 9 to 5 and the awards are at 6. So, some of them, still smelt of motor oil, from whatever, mechanic shop they're working in before they picked up their guitar to play.
Yeah.
And it was like nice to feel like, yeah, I'm being nominated by my peers. There's a radio thing up here called Radio X, and those guys are people like me who are, paycheck to paycheck, struggling to make ends meet. And when you're recognized by those people, that means something. When it's blue collar, when it's the people who are from your tribe are saying, "Hey, that dude deserves a pat on the back," because I know what it takes for him to have to go through to be able to continue to make art, because it's not cheap to record. It's not cheap to to keep your equipment in good shape. So yeah,
Yeah.
those things mean a lot. But
Oh
these
yeah.
40, and my next album, when you want to talk about that, there's some backstory from the awards to that album.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
we'll get it. We'll get into that album right after I discuss the EP and whatnot, because I'm just going through your whole
Mm.
discography and like
Yep.
or order of like what was released
Yeah.
and all that. I really did love that you flat out just said nothing. That was like really funny to say the least. But yeah, even then with the other awards, that the award that you won, like seeing everyone who was like the same as you, like it doesn't it just feel nice to like see it almost feels like it's so authentic, you know, especially in the Americana scene. Like you want to be authentic as hell,
Mm. Yeah.
like not just to play it up or whatnot, but you would have to actually live it, you know.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so now we get to your next album, which is Lower County Outlaw, and I will say this: I really loved the artwork for that album.
Yeah. It's the logo for my wife's goat farm.
Man, what is it about goats and Satanism? I just never understood that, honestly, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like the equivalent of I never understood how cats are seen as Egyptian gods or whatever, honestly, too. I don't know. I mean, hey, you do you, whatever they do is their
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
So here is what Rocket Knight said about Gypsy Girl. This is a country rock and folk song with beautiful lyrics and an acoustic rhythm guitar hook that will have you swaying. This is the article for the song Gypsy Girl. Great electric guitar at the break. Lyrics about an unrequited love make this song poignant and classic. What did Kristian do differently about this recording? He played all of the guitars on this track, and bravo. And I will say this, when I saw that, I was like, you ended up pulling a Billy Corgan right there.
A little
Because,
bit. Yeah.
you know, in reference to when the Smashing Pumpkins were doing Siamese Dream, he did not only all the guitar work, but the bass. So I was like,
Yep.
yeah, you pulled a Billy Corgan right there.
Yeah. No, my guitar playing's gotten better and better as I practice. But so Lower County Outlaw was a cool record. This was done with producer Andrew Koss at the studio at Strawberry Fields. And he had his two clients before me were like Alicia Keys and John Legend. So I'm starting to move up in the ladder of prominence here as far as
Okay.
people. So he's a guy who he used to own Terminus Studios in Times Square, and then moved to Vermont with his family prior to COVID. But so he and I sat down one day and talked. I had found a bunch of bluegrass players up here in Vermont, and bluegrass isn't necessarily my thing. I approached him with the project, and he goes, "Listen, I'm booting everybody out of your band, and you and I are going to start fresh. It's going to be me and you. We'll bring in session players, and we're going to make a really great album." And I trusted him, and we did. So, Andrew played drums. We hired out for some guitar, bass, and keys. But the songs were solid, and they're cool, and so we decided to do like 10, five to six songs turned into 12. But there's some pretty classic tracks on that. Gypsy Girl was just a song I wrote about my wife wearing a pair of Daisy Dukes. It was something that I had written prior to moving to Vermont. Inspired by her. She and I would take the fishing boat out, and it was my wife is really easy to look at. Yeah, it was just a cool little love song, but
Yeah.
people seem to dig it. It's got a little Allman Brothers vibe.
No,
you
that's
know.
that's what I heard. I was like, you just ended up doing what Dwayne Allman probably did, or at least this might have been at least after he passed. I'm not really sure, but there is some Allman Brothers influence that I could hear in it.
Mm. Oh, definitely. But there's a song in there called "Annie Pay Your Band," and that got me in a shit ton of trouble. So there's a country artist named Annie Brobst who, very like commercial, like it's what you would hear, and flash in the pan on any commercial country rock station. Um, and you can kind of tell that the music is purposely done that way. Not a lot of substance, a lot of rhymey words for you know trucks, car, beer, wine, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and she was nominated for the New England Music Awards the same year as me. Yeah, and for the same categories, I think too. But um, the long and short of it was, a friend of mine had approached me and said, "Yeah, I used to play in her band, and she wouldn't pay us. We'd do a gig, and then she wouldn't pay us, and she was very mean and critical of their performance and whatnot." So I wrote "Annie Pay Your Band," and it was a really kind of mean spirited, misogynistic song. And like lyrically, it might have been over the top. Like I look back at it now and I feel bad, like I had lines in it, like her dress is tight, but after tonight, she'll be filling all her holes. Um,
and we all know what that means.
She goes bulimic for Jesus and purges before every show. I just thought it was mean. It was meant to be mean at the time, but she'd asked me to perform a Kenny Rogers song with her at the awards, and I said absolutely not. And so, anyways, the story got out that I wrote this song about her, and all hell broke loose. I had her fans were sending me hate mail and death threats. She reached out to nearly every venue, every radio to try to blacklist me from stuff. And she was successful to a certain extent with some of the awards. But I just decided, after all that was done and the smoke cleared, and I'm just gonna keep making music. And it was I found out later that her manager actually was the owner of one of the awards. And so I could kind of get it, like, yeah, all right, Chris sucks, Annie's great. But I just have always been one of those people who, when a song gets stuck in my head and it's got a great hook, I can't let it die. So I had to record it. So it is what it is.
Yep, I guess so. I mean, even then, even with despite all that, you're not the first one that did something like this. Like, how many other musicians and bands out there ended up releasing songs that got them in severe trouble, right? Look at NWA, for example.
Well, yeah, those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, you just express what you think. That's our job as artists, not to hold back and not to censor ourselves. So I wrote the song. I stand by it. I think it's a killer tune. I
love that song too.
Yeah, I wish it was a little heavier. But it worked out, I know she's got a plan, but Annie, pay your band.
Yeah. Annie, pay your fucking band, or you're just proving everyone that they're telling the truth.
Right. But it's all water under the bridge now. Annie has since gone on to say she loves my music and thinks I'm extraordinarily handsome.
Yeah, but just remember, you're married, all right? Yeah. I will say this. I do love Gypsy Girl, the girl with gauges in her ears and Lost in Memphis. I don't know what it was, but for the song "Submit to My Transmission," Around and Around in 4th of July, I couldn't really gel with them for some reason, but they really sounded very authentic as you can get, especially for Americana and roots rock music, you know? No, so
Yeah.
I do have a bit of an appreciation for them songs, to say the least. I even thought 4th of July would kind of have a more hard rocking sound because it is the 4th of July, and you know, everybody's probably drunk on their asses and need a killer tune to just,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah.
Oh, and then as far as it goes for Lost in Memphis, if you're lost in Memphis, just pull up your phone, go to Google Maps, and then you'll be fine, and then you can find your way out of there.
Well, Lost in Memphis was a song I wrote about meeting Johnny Cash. I got to meet him at an airport.
Oh,
And
shit!
just had a very brief conversation with him. I was doing some session work at a recording studio, just doing some backup vocals for a friend. And he was at the airport, and I kind of like, sat near him and kind of kept moving closer. And he kind of kept giving me the side eye, like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was like, Mr. Cash. And he was like, hey, you can call me Johnny. And I'm like, just wanted to say I'm a big fan, like, grew up listening to you and think, what you've done with your career is amazing. And he asked me what I was doing. And I said, told him that I was playing at the studio. And he said, you're down here with all the horns and hooves. And I thought that was just the fucking coolest thing I ever heard.
Dude, that really is. Like, Johnny Cash, like, there's a reason he's the man in black. There's a reason he's one of the greatest to ever do it, you know? My dad loved Johnny Cash so religiously. Like, my dad was such a huge outlaw country guy. There was even, back about almost 20 years ago, he, all of my family went to Montana to visit my mom's family for 4th of July, somewhere near the Great Falls area. They ended up finding out or heard that Willie Nelson was going to be performing there to raise money for I think it was a farming business or like one of those businesses that burnt down. So he wanted to raise money to rebuild it. And we all know that Willie did love his as well.
Oh, yeah.
My dad grabbed what he had in his hand. They got front row tickets. He grabbed it and threw it on the stage, and the bouncers came to grab it, and they took turns smelling it. They gave it to Willie, and he's like, "Whose is this? This is good kush." And my dad was like right here, and he was like, "Hey, this is good stuff right here." And my dad was like, out of all the years that I've lived on this planet, Willie Nelson acknowledging me was one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's even sad to see that Willie Nelson right now is the last highwayman, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
No, like Waylon's gone, Johnny's gone, Chris is gone, like...
Yep. Yeah, it's the passing of time is a scary thing. And there's only a couple of the traveling Wilburys left too. Jeez.
Yep, Bob Dylan and Jeff Lynne from ELO. Well, and I'm a diehard fan of both Electric Light Orchestra and Bob Dylan, dude. We take pride in him. He is... I live like about 30 miles away from where he's from originally.
Yep.
It's even amazing, you know, there's so many of them that are just going and going and going, man. And even some that you never expect to happen. Like, look at Three Doors Down, for example. Their lead singer just died after battling cancer for a year, and that hit me the hardest. I think that was probably the one musician that hit me the hardest since Ozzy.
Yep. Yeah, Ozzy was a really tough row. That sucked.
Oh, God. And even how many months later, they're still paying tributes to him at all of these award shows, too. You know?
Yep.
No, and rightfully so. He defined a music genre.
Yeah.
But then, of course, a lot of these people from Europe, or especially Great Britain, defined a lot of the music genres, you know? Or set the groundwork for a lot of them to come anyway, so... So you ended up, right after this, right after you released the Lower County Outlaw, you didn't release any music at all in 2024. Were you just focused on like doing shows or just kind of taking a break, or what did you do during that time?
My wife and I had bought a 200-year-old farmhouse, and we were fixing that up. And it was a year of construction and we got horses and started to build our farm. So it was yeah, pretty much a year of just personal growth and kind of doing shows. And
Yeah.
you
I
know
could totally get that. And you just felt like you just wanted to just take a chance for a timeout and relax, even though you had to build this farm up and all that.
yeah, well, and I was in the studio. I just didn't finish it in time to get one out that year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
And that leads us to Prophets of the Apocalypse. Which was
Yeah.
your EP that was released.
Yeah.
I loved Bitch Done Broke and how it started off, because it's a hard head banging song. And, it's almost like a change of like what you're listening to, even considering that your third and fourth albums, there's the songs that you did start kind of a little slow on that,
Yeah.
obviously. And I don't know who puts the songs whatever in correct order, but you guys do what you do, so
Yeah.
oh, a rock that doesn't roll. You ended up saying the quotes of "Don't Fear the Reaper" and "Hot for Teacher." I have no idea if they were meant to be shoutouts. Were they, or were they not shoutouts to Van Halen and Blue Oyster Cult?
Oh yeah. So Rock That Doesn't Roll. When I moved to Vermont, I have like this love-hate with the festivals up here. There's not a huge rock scene in Vermont, and getting into upstate New York, like there's a rock scene in Albany, like a huge hardcore metal rock. There's actual like still rock clubs. But I met this guy, Greg Bell, who's a promoter up here, and he's recently kind of semi-retired, but he's really big into the Grateful Dead and into the building these festivals. And he is one of those personalities where like if you see him out and about at every show, like he doesn't just book these shows, he's there. He is that rock that doesn't roll. It popped into my head and I went with it. And it's all about people cradle to grave, born into going to shows, continue to go to shows. And, in their 70s, they're still at these festivals smoking a joint and supporting music.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was, I still don't fear the Reaper because I'm solid gold. I'm still Hot for Teacher, or a rock that doesn't roll. I was just trying to kind of pull from every generation a different, like term that we all became accustomed to. So
I will say this, like with you mentioning the Grateful Dead, and especially for them shows, there is a reason that they are called the Deadheads after all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a band that just it in one sense it's impressive, in another it's disappointing, because they have such a solid fan base of multi-generational humans that they're a huge, they've become a voting block, and they could have used that a little bit more to maybe push their progressive ideas towards society. They had the podium to do it from, but at the same time, I mean, the fact that every one of their shows is sold out with people who love their music, and the camaraderie, gives you a little bit of faith in humanity.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, but like, I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to a whole lot of Grateful Dead music, but I do love trucking.
Yep.
Like it's like anytime like I don't smoke marijuana a whole lot. I take THC edibles. Like if I just want to just have a quiet night and just tune out. And I would always be playing Truckin' along with like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and other
Oh yeah,
songs that are just like
yeah,
man, you could just think about the universe and all that kind of thing,
yeah. I'm not a big fan of festival like of the jam band festivals and I'm not a really big Grateful Dead fan either. Um, like 30-minute guitar solos drive me up a wall. Like I'd rather go
Yeah.
to a jazz. I really love jazz and freeform jazz. Um,
I started listening to jazz. Like, I don't listen to it a whole lot, but it was one of the genres we played at my old radio station, and I started kind of building a soft spot for jazz.
yeah, yeah. No, I've loved how they, a 30-minute solo for a jazz saxophonist or even a guitar player. They all mold into each other, and I've just found with some of these jam band festivals, it's just really it's the rest of the band is just laying down a groove for the guitar player to do his thing, and there's
Yeah.
really no more improv. He's just going to go off and solo.
Yeah, pretty much. There is this one guy out here, Sam Militich. He is a known jazz musician out here with his family, and I've checked out some of his stuff, and they are pretty good. And especially if you're like just out at nighttime or evening, just wanting to just have a drink and listen to music, and jazz is always like one of those. Good, like one of those cool things. Like if you don't want to really do much craziness and just want to sit back and relax, jazz is like that kind of perfect genre for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Steve Miller, who is one of my all-time favorite musicians. I did not know this until maybe a couple of years ago, but he did release a jazz album himself, Born to Be Blue, and I was like. I do like easy listening music. It feels like something that you could listen to. Like if you're just sitting at home, it's a Friday or Saturday morning and it's like raining out.
Oh, I hear you.
You know?
So
go ahead.
Oh, Prophets of the Apocalypse was produced by Vincent Freeman at the Underground Studio in Randolph, Vermont. So the guys that I was playing with at the time, we started collaborating a little bit, trying to incorporate more of their ideas into the tunes. And, my bass player, Jake Hill, we wrote Cold Day in Hell together, which is a pretty metal tune.
It really is. I've listened to it and it was pretty metalish.
Yeah. He and I gel really well. And he's off doing other stuff now. I'm hoping maybe somewhere down the line we'll kind of reconnect. But he sang the chorus to me, and I took me a little bit, put the songs together. And it was just kind of cool that the whole project of going into this place together. The studio in Randolph is more of a Kitty Corner's a nightclub that Vincent owns, and Vincent is a German import with dual citizenship over there. So like myself, being a Dane and an American, we kind of had that connection. But we decided we recorded everything live. No click track, no nothing. We were just we're going to record 5 songs, and it just came out really fucking cool.
It really did. I liked the artwork for it, and especially the font that was used for Prophets of the Apocalypse. It did look like it came out of them 50s horror movies and all that. That's what the font looked like to me, without a doubt.
And the whole preference of Prophets of the Apocalypse was just like, okay, Trump had got reelected. The world's gonna fall to shit. Let's just let's write some pretty angry songs. So.
Yeah, and how angry you really fucking were with the music.
Yeah, I mean, Rock That Doesn't Roll was cool. Leaving Texas seemed to be the big hit that the radio stations dug. It's got kind of a fooey slash, slap little Smashing Pumpkin vibe, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I would say like for Leave Texas and Foolish Devil, they did have that alternative rock feel to it.
yeah, yeah. Foolish Devil I had recorded on the Gravel Church. It was a redo. I wanted to do a heavier one.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But yeah, so Bitch Done Broke, was another Jake Hill collaboration. And, he came up to me, he goes, I've got this line. I've fell in line to fall in love. And I was like, okay, let me see what I can do with that. And, Bitch Done Broke kind of was born from that. But those were just fun. Like we just kind of went back to our roots, small studio, it's not no multi-million-dollar production like Lower County Outlaw. It was, home studio, just pure aggression.
Yep. Just being angry at what's going on and all that.
Yeah.
Boy, are those the good old days when you could have that.
Yep.
A rock that doesn't roll, I will say one more time. I heard the cowbell, and considering that the More Cowbell skit from SNL just had its anniversary, I fell off my chair literally laughing.
Yeah.
Because you say, don't fear the Reaper in one of the lyrics, and then all of a sudden the fucking cowbell comes. Like, I'll be honest, Christian, the song sounded great, but I could have used a little more cowbell.
Right. Yeah. No, that's what I say too. Yeah. It was funny. We put that in at the end of the track, when we were mixing, and I was like, you know what that song needs? And Vincent looks at me, he goes, cowbell. It's like, yes. So we were pretty much trying to like do every corny, anything we could to make that song a little cheesier. And it was fun.
Cheesy, you certainly did. I give you mad props for that. Mad props.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask about Leaving Texas. Like, it's at the beginning, it sounded like you were starting the song, then you would just cut away. Like, I don't know why, but it made it sound like you were whispering, like, cut, do it again, again, and all that.
No, the drummer that played on that song's name is James Pesler, and he is a friend of mine from work, and he approached me about jumping in on the band, and we're good buds, so I was like, yeah, come on in. And he's a really solid drummer. But we wrote the beginning of that song just to mess him up. It was just fun in the studio, that and it's just a little bit ahead of the beat, enough to drive him up a wall. Right. So it took a few tries to get it. But yeah, we specifically did that just to fuck with him.
That is so awesome. That's really awesome. I loved it. I will even tell, like I said, and for Leave Texas, if you want to leave Texas, all you just gotta do is just get in your car and drive off, and you're fine.
So the meaning of that song, though, I have two cousins in Houston, Texas. One's name is Inga, and Thor Peterson. And Inga is a right-wing Republican truck driver. And Thor is a cross-dressing gay man. And they could not be more polar opposite people. But at one time or another, they have both called me and said, I need to get the fuck out of Texas. And it was like, so, that song is about them. It's, kind of cool.
Yeah, a little bit of a shout out to them. Inga and Thor, big shout out to you guys. Yeah, like I said, I did love the alternative rock feel to it, pretty much. Oh, you gone blurry, man.
Oh, here I am.
Yep, I was like, I didn't even start drinking. This is just water I've been drinking. What the fuck?
Jeez.
Yeah. Alrighty, so now that we've covered all your albums that have been released, it's now time to get to your next big work, Soul Family, which is due to be released on June 21st. what can you tell us about your new upcoming album, and what do you want to say about it firsthand?
So this one, I'm back with Andrew Koss at the studio in Strawberry Fields. Soul Family was about the aftermath of my home burning down. My wife and I had lost that farm, and our dog passed in the fire. Our cats, our chickens and ducks, many of them didn't make it out.
Oh God.
But my wife was like a freaking hero. She was a cowgirl. She had the horses out of the barn, like, lassoing them to get them out, and get them out into the field away from the fire. But it was about the aftermath, and it was about the people that kind of either, who were always in my life, or the people that returned after hearing about what happened. And it was an album that was about healing, everything that I've gone through in the past 6 years or 7 years since 2019 when I left Massachusetts. It was kind of like, I would only describe it as an exhale after everything kind of fixed itself. My wife and I went to Copenhagen this past summer. And we, after buying a new house up on the mountain, and everything just kind of fixed itself. We kind of just threw our troubles into the universe and said, hey, if you can do anything with this, do it. If you can't, we'll accept it. And everything is fixed. We were made whole. While we were here, my best friend, who lived in New Hampshire, he died 2 years ago, October, in New Hampshire of esophageal cancer. And he was my bass player. He was my bass player in my band Bone Dry System. And I was here at work in Vermont, and I ran into his son, and his son had been struggling since losing his dad, and really struggling. And I mean, his father and I were like brothers, and I loved him to death. He was like just one of the best humans you could know. And I said to his kid, I'm like, well, you live with me now. And he moved in with me for a little bit, and took care of him while I was recording this record. He's in his early 20 years old, 21. And we got him back on his feet. He moved out to Oregon with his girlfriend, and he's just kicking ass out there. He's finishing school. He's getting his, hands dirty, doing some carpentry and learning a trade.
Yeah.
And I just kind of felt this just, when you can feel your ancestors around you, you could feel your friends who are gone around you. Yeah. That's the feeling I had. It was this soul family. And I was put in a position where I could help this guy because of all of the tragedy that I had to go through in order to be there at that specific moment. So that was kind of the birth of the idea of Soul Family, and the songs on it just kick ass. A lot of it is geared towards, remembering people that I care about, people that I hear, people that are gone. It's a great record.
It really is, man. And actually, that is kind of making me tear up a little bit, because I know that I've lost a lot of people in my life too. Like, there was my father, who was, it was 3 months after I had turned 21. And then there was a really close friend of mine who owned Knuckleheads in Hill City. And he had died last, not this past December, but the December before. And out of all the deaths that I ended up enduring, like, around me, it was my friend and my dad that hit me the hardest. Like, right after my dad passed, I was a complete wreck.
Yeah. Well, I was around that age when I lost my dad too. It's not easy,
Yeah. And the one guy who saved my life was my head football coach at my community college that I went to.
Yeah.
He,
nice.
it was, to to put it simply, he kind of gave me the quote unquote kick in the ass that I needed, you know?
Yeah.
And things have kind of been like a little bit up and down, but they've mostly been upwards, you know? So,
Nice.
yep, without a doubt. So you sent me the MP3 to your song Brotherhood of Ghosts, and we were talking a little earlier that it was a tribute song of sorts. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah. It's a tribute. I've written several songs about my younger brother Kurt, who passed. He had brain cancer, and he was my buddy. We had our offs and our ons, and but towards the end, we were really close. And Brotherhood of Ghosts was kind of like my own reflection on the relationship that I had with him. I still, people call me up and ask me, hey, is your brother around? And I'm like, no, he passed away 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because he was bigger than me. He was 6'4". He was 300, almost 300 pounds sometimes. Big dude. Big Viking. But he had a heart of gold, and he was a gentle giant. And Brotherhood of Ghosts was just, he and I beat our bodies up. We've been tradesmen the majority of our life.
Yeah.
And from our teens to our 30s and 40s, we've been tradesmen, fishermen, carpenters, plumbers, you name it. And we beat our bodies up, and so that song was pretty much about that.
Yeah.
We were the beast of burden. Now we're the Brotherhood of Ghosts.
That's a really good quote. Like, I've listened to that lyric, and that was really nice, man. So you said that you had stepbrothers and stepsisters. Is he your full-blooded brother, or?
Yeah, he's my only full-blooded brother. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but no, rest in peace, Kurt.
Yeah. I brought May 20th, I fly back to Denmark, and my daughter Maddie's coming with me, and I had put my brother's ashes in the fjord in Roskilde, Denmark. So she's gonna go, get to visit her uncle for a little bit. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. Like, oh, man, even then, like, seeing some of these countries, like, in Europe, I was like, I look at them, where all my ancestors immigrated from. I was like, man, these countries look more beautiful,
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of like how everyone sees it, obviously my all-time favorite spot will always be Glacier National Park in Montana,
Yep.
And it was really sad, like, when my dad passed, they were actually talking of moving to Montana to live out their final days out there, because my dad really loved it, and he really wanted to move out there. Then, unfortunately, things happen like that, but I made a vow that when my mom goes, I'm going to take both their ashes, I'm going to go to the highest peak in Glacier National Park, and I'm planning to release them there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
nice.
That's where my parents would have wanted to be at, so.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you go back to your roots, you feel them, like they're with you. Like as soon as I get off the plane in Denmark, I can almost feel my grandfather and all of the ancestors who were hanging out with me at the time going, "Hey, welcome home.
Right.
It's good to have you back. Good to have you back."
I have my dad, he wasn't in a band or a musician in his own right, but he loved playing guitar. I have actually 2 of his guitars, and I have his one amp that he loved to use the most. The acoustic guitar was my grandfather's. It's like 50 years old. It's a Gideon, and I could feel that my grandpa's with me, even though he had passed from lung cancer 5 years before I was born. And then this electric guitar, I was determined to inherit, and it was my dad's Les Paul Goldie.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's cool.
Without a doubt. Like, I've tried playing guitar myself, but I just couldn't get into it. It's not that I couldn't get into it, but I really sucked at it, you know?
I did too at one point. You just keep going, you know?
Yeah, maybe I might have to take it up at one point again. I might have to get new strings for it because the strings are pretty worn out. So, of course, if I have to use a guitar pick, I'll just use the pick of destiny. Because I actually have physical copies of like the actual pick. I actually wanted to get it tattooed on me at one point. So, and I'm a huge Tenacious D fan. So,
oh yeah, they are funny. Oh,
they are without a doubt. No. All right, so we're gonna conclude this with one final question here. What is it that you're looking forward to the most for your future in music, and what would you say you want your impact in music to be, especially with the legacy that you're creating?
Well, the thing I look forward most is getting in front of bigger crowds, getting out there. I kind of feel like I haven't put my whole heart into it yet, and that's what I plan on doing. And as far as my legacy is concerned, I'm just going to keep writing. My oldest son plays guitar, and I hope he's writing and creating his own stuff too. He's in the Air Force. He's just like me. He likes tattoos. I just got my daughter's name tattooed on me the other day.
Okay.
Thor's hammer and.
Yeah. This one I've had for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
I can't get it here, but it's this tattoo actually was in reference to one of my favorite wrestlers that I watched growing up, Goldberg.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's awesome.
And I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it now. So, but I figured I'd spoil myself, especially when I like tattoos myself. Piercings, I will never, ever get. I really don't want to be stabbed. But of course, I'm getting stabbed a million times with this here. But I was like, but it could come out. They stop right afterwards. The piercing will just stay in you forever.
Right, right.
So,
I'm just going to keep playing, man. Just keep writing, recording, and hopefully, people dig it.
Yeah. I myself certainly dig it. I dig it so much so that I'm officially announcing that I'm joining the tribe.
Nice.
Yeah. We're going to keep this thing growing no matter what.
Good deal.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this podcast. I want to say to all of you, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you especially to Kristian for coming on. We really had a good time. And if you guys want to continue to follow his music and give him a follow on social media, all the links to everything will be in the description below. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Roger Radio Show if you haven't. Hit the bell to be notified when I upload. Hit the like button and comment and all that. And then follow me on my social media as well. Kristian, you got anything you want to say before we sign off?
Just follow us too. We're all over the social media. We got all the streaming platforms, and if you hit me up on Facebook and send me your email, I will send you a pre-release MP3 of Brotherhood of Ghosts.
Hell yeah. And it's a great song. Really great song. I really love it, without a doubt. Now, so what are you all waiting for? Do it now. Go follow him now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, until next time, ta-ta for now.